Wake up! Wake up! I know it's Thursday, it's not Friday, but I mean, you got to wake up anyway, right? Let's go.
I mean, the alternative to not waking up is a path that no one really wants to go down. So it is good to have you back here. Thanks so much for joining Larry and I. It is a Thursday. I'm actually out Friday because it's Memorial Day weekend, heading up to Tahoe with the family. So that means Monday is going to be out as well, Kruger. I'm going to be coming back from Tahoe on Memorial Day Monday, but it's a big weekend. An awful lot of people will probably have this show in their car with them at some point in time as they're going somewhere. Download the podcast, like, subscribe, and thank you for being here on Thursday, May 22nd. And as always, we need to let you know who we are brought to you by. Our good friends at Ike Sandwiches are always making the machine move over here on Damon Bruce Plus. Go ahead and sign up for that Love Rewards program. Start eating your way towards free sandwiches. Our good friends at the Dubliner West Portal got the perfect Guinness waiting for you, and Muni drops you off and picks you right up out front, Larry. I mean, that's the best bar in town, right? Muni takes you right there and takes you home. It doesn't get better than that. Thank you to the Dubliner. Thank you to Ike's, and let's talk about pigs and pickles.
Well, you know, it's funny. I used to have a running gag with my buddies. You know, we used to say, hey, man, you officially have nothing going on if your, to-do list includes get up and get dressed. You know what I mean? If you have get up and get dressed on your to-do list, you don't got a lot going on.
Right.
I would say that, if I'd be like, hey, man, what'd you do today? Like, for one of my roommates, be like, well, I got up and I got dressed. Like, dude, come on, bro. It's got to start. Whatever you're doing for the day has to go after got up and got dressed. But, of course, the Krueg Show brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early. Get some brisket chili. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue, Pacific Grove, California. Thanks to my good friend Anthony Catania, who's there at 831-521-5264. We're also brought to you by Mancini Sleep World, and the Memorial Day sale is going on, by the way, at Mancini's, and it does not end for quite a while. In fact, it goes on through June the 9th. So you get the best price guarantee, 365-night comfort guarantee, free next day delivery. But now, if you type in Krueg 10 at checkout, Krueg 10, you'll save an additional 10% thanks to Mancini's. We're also brought to you by LearnKey Upskill Academy, and they're a great online learning platform. You can learn all about them. They've been in business for 37 years. They help a lot of people, over 200,000 students. If you're underskilled and you need some skills, check them out. And also Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a Claw Daddy arcade near you. And he's got 3 in Southern Cal, 2 in Central California, and he's opening up a brand new arcade empire here in Northern California. So follow him on Instagram and find out where his arcades are at and check them out. So thanks to all of my sponsors for being sponsors of the Krueg Show, and the links are in the description below.
And thanks to all of you for coming back and supporting us time and time again, watching, liking, subscribing, and here we go. Brock Purdy's a good guy, man. I mean, there's just really nothing left to say about this. He's got a mountain of money that has just been shoveled into whatever vault he wants to tell them to shovel it into. And his first instinct is picking up a cake that his mother made for him. You know, they didn't go out and buy a fancy cake. His mom baked him a cake, and he wants a fishing boat. I mean, what about...
He wants a bass boat, yeah.
What am I not supposed to like about this guy? Like, I almost want him to do something wrong just so I know he's normal and not this perfect person. I mean, everything about this guy as a quarterback is something that I think you should like. Everything about his work ethic is something that I think we should admire and try to emulate. And, zero entitlement. Larry, I don't think we could give our children a bigger gift than zero entitlement. Because it means you got to work for everything. What's the big knock on the millennial generation? Is that they're the most entitled generation of all time? Brock Purdy, who's a part of that, doesn't have any of it in him, man. He is just a hardworking, pull it up by the bootstraps kind of guy. And it's really funny. Everybody was so ready to take their knives out and talk about how much money he took off the table. And within 72 hours, as the real thoughts of this contract start to roll out, everybody starts looking at it and they're like, oh, wait a minute. It's actually a team-friendly deal, isn't it? And he did that too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're mad, you can't be mad at the deal. You might be mad at the fact that they gave him a deal, but you can't be mad at the deal itself because the deal itself is very, very fair. And I credit Prague and Lynch and Kyle Strongen for, putting their heads together. And you and I have talked about this endlessly. I mean, the best dollar figure for the quarterback isn't the highest dollar figure. It's the highest dollar figure that enables your team to be able to put a team around you. That's what you really want. And I think he demonstrated a lot in this deal of, hey, you know what? I'm a team player and I want to have some give and take. Just to summarize it, massive guarantees, but the timing is interesting. $182.5 million fully guaranteed, but only $100 million fully guaranteed at signing. And then the rest kind of vests as it goes, and there's some key exit points. Like, for example, Damon, April 1st of 2026, the Niners can get out, and they can avoid 2027 guarantees. April 1st, 27, they can avoid massive $55.05 million 28 guarantee if they want to get out. April 1st of 28, April 1st of 29, there are vesting guarantees that they can get out. So the 49ers bought themselves some time. This is elite quarterback money, but there are built-in protections if Brock Purdy kind of proves that he is not deserving of elite quarterback money. So I think in a lot of ways, it's a very good deal. His 2025 cap hit's only $3.77 million. Very team friendly, and he keeps the Niners Super Bowl window open as they still have all these great players on the roster.
Well, let's talk about what it really is. Here's what it really is. Here's what it really is. The guaranteed money is $181 million over the with $165 being paid to him over the first 3 years.
Right, but the key there is that most
$5 million.
But the key there is that not only is he getting the most money in the first 3 years, it's only 14% of the cap at signing in year one, and it's only 18% of the cap at signing if you combine the first 3 years together. So they found a way, Damon, it's pretty actually genius. They found a way to get Brock his money up front, but spread the cap hit over the years so that it's not this big, oh my God, you've got no team around him in the first 3 years, a la Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott, who took a much, much higher percentage of their team's cap, especially in the first year, 2 and 3. So I like that. For that reason, I kind of like that. Most top quarterback deals balloon with early cap hits. This one doesn't. This one is structured so they can keep Bosa, keep IU, keep Trent, keep all their guys. It's team-friendly up front, and yet Brock is taken care of up front. And then there's big chunks of cash that come to him in option bonuses. For example, 37.7 and 26, 15 and 27, and they're not just base salary. And obviously, as you know this, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but for people who don't know the NFL cap, those option bonuses are spread over multiple years, over several years, and it smooths out the cap hit. So it gives the Niners more flexibility to kind of manipulate the cap year over year and restructure as they go. So it's not just friendly up front and favorable up front to Brock. It's favorable up front to Brock. It's favorable up front to the Niners. And it also gives the Niners the ability, if Brock, for whatever reason, if 2024 is Brock and he backslides going forward, it's really more like a 3-year deal that they could get out of. With guaranteeing basically April 1st of 26, 27, 28 are guaranteed vesting deadlines. And if Purdy is not the player they want him to be, they've got escape hatches built in before they lock in huge future payouts. And it's, they're not in a Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray situation where the guarantees have them completely trapped. And that's good. And then I think the last point is just that compared to the other quarterback deals, Damon, like the Watson deal, the Burrow deal, the Herbert deal, because this has staggered guarantees and a lower initial risk and some smarter financial out clauses, I got to credit both sides. They carefully engineered this contract, and the Niners made a huge commitment, but they're doing it on their own terms. And I think it's a win-win-win. I think the fans win because this thing's settled. I think Brock wins because, he's probably going to be the guy for the next 5 or 6 years, and he's probably going to make north of $200 million on the field and maybe as much or more off the field. This is a huge win for him, and it's a huge win for the Niners because you get
a national face of Toyota. He is.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. But he's going to get 46. I think it's if you look at it over 6 years because he's got 1 year before it even starts. The Niners have tied in their quarterback in 2025, a quarterback that's taken them to a Super Bowl for $45 million a year for the next 6 years, and there isn't a better deal to be had in 2025. And the cap's going up in the next 2 years, 5.5%. So get ready for big contracts for quarterbacks coming down the pike, and it's going to make this one really,
Brock Purdy
small
Brock
by comparison.
Purdy at the end of this deal, right? If Brock sees the whole thing through, at the end of this deal, I guarantee you he is not even in the top 20 of quarterback salaries, without some sort of rejiggering the whole thing around. He is about to get past an IndyCar in terms of value and all the different measurements and all the, what is it? Guaranteed money, total value of the deal, annual average value. There's a million different ways to say I'm the highest paid, whatever. Brock will not even be in the top 10 conversation 18 months from now. He won't be. So this is a great deal.
It's going to age well. It's going to age well.
My dad always used to say there are two equitable deals. Both sides walk away happy. Both sides walk away unhappy. That's a good deal. Both, either way, you get the deal done. If both sides are really happy about it, that's a good deal. If both sides are not thrilled about it, that means it's probably still a good deal in some ways.
Well, it is
happy and the other side is unhappy. That's not a good deal, and everyone should walk away happy. And look, I've always said, the problem with Parag Marathe is that he's got the name of a Bond villain. If his name had been Roy Smith, he wouldn't have gotten half the shit that's come down on him. Ralph Barbieri would not have crushed Parag so much, but he had a Bond villain name. He really did. He's good at his job, man. Parag Marathe is really good at his job. And the fact that the players' agents agree with that more often than not, I'm just glad that they got the deal done. I'm glad that this didn't go into the Bosa, Ayuk, it got ugly situation. And it really felt like, there was a choice that Brock Purdy made. We ain't taking this ugly. We are going to be demure in our negotiating positions. We are not going to be, both barreling, sticking up the 49ers for the most amount of money. It's funny. The Niners promised hardball. They didn't really play hardball. Purdy's agents said, we're playing hardball too. No one really played that much hardball. This was the least contentious big negotiation they'll probably ever have as a franchise. And that's a credit to both sides. It really, really is. By the way, we want to correct all mistakes in real time. Pedro Hernandez says, Purdy is Gen Z, Damon, not millennial. Leon Sandcastle, Brock isn't millennial. First millennials are now in their late 30s and looking for some imperfection. JW says, Purdy cheated on his homework in the 6th grade. So, yeah, that's...
Get him out of there. I'll say this, he first of all, he's a great guy. I don't know if it comes across, but if it doesn't, let me just tell you, as somebody who knows him, he's a great guy. I mean, really is a great guy. He's got everything you want, right? He's got that I can do it. You just go ahead and dare me. You don't think you don't believe in me. That's on you. But he's not braggadocious. He at one point yesterday, he's like, I'm an NFL quarterback of note, and I can lead this thing, and I can go to the Super Bowl. And it's almost like he needs to talk himself up from time to time because he's so humble. But I thought it was interesting because, Damon, I mean, look at this. I mean, on one hand, you have a group of people, and I'm not going to make fun of them because it's a point of view, and I don't know that I'm right? I think that I'm right, but I don't know that I'm right. And there's a lot of people that think that last year was Brock Purdy and that this was a stupid contract and they never should have paid him and he's not worth the money and blah, 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 right? And that's really interesting, right? Because this guy has been to the Super Bowl and he's won a lot of games, but he didn't play well last year. The team didn't play well last year. There was huge regression.
I think there's quite an argument to be made that he did play well under circumstances.
I agree. But then people would say, well, the turnover-worthy plays at the end. I just think that comes down a team's if a quarterback really is a competitor and he's going to go for it, that means at some point in the fourth quarter he's going to try to make plays to win the game. And that means that if his team's not the best team, there's going to be turnovers probably. There's going to be tip passes and batted down passes and interceptions and mistakes because that's how you lose in football. And it all comes down on the quarterback's head, but it could be the offensive line. It could be the receivers not gaining separation. It could be any number of things. It played last year like he was horrible, but in reality, he was pretty damn good. He was like top 10 in many, many categories. But that's one side of it, right? So you got the people yelling, he's not worth it. And then you have the reality of the year prior, where Brock Purdy played really, really, really well in the playoffs and outdueled Jordan Love in the second half and outplayed Jared Goff in the second half and really played Mahomes almost straight up in the Super Bowl and walked off the field up 19-16 in the fourth quarter, walked off the field up 22-19 in overtime and wind up losing to Kansas City 25-22. So as there's one group of people screaming, he's not worth it, see 2024, I think the 49ers maybe are a little bit more fair-minded in their grading of Brock and are like, hey, man, this guy essentially led us to a Super Bowl victory. We couldn't finish the deal. Thank you, Steve Wilkes and Nick Sorensen's defense. But Brock did an awful lot in those games. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, in some ways, he's the young 25-year-old quarterback that you almost have to pay like a Super Bowl winner because he got you into that game. He played well in that game. You expect to be back in that game. So does he. You know what I'm saying? It's like, some people are like, he sucks. Look at 2024. Other people are like, dude, not only does he not suck, he's one of the best young quarterbacks in pro football. Look at the fourth quarter and overtime in the Super Bowl.
What's really odd is how much people have gone out of their way to dump on the beginning of his career when it's literally a beginning of a career that most quarterbacks are envious of. This is not how a lot of quarterbacks start their careers, where they step out on the field and they're instantly statistically among some of the best in the game. And then the team is having a great amount of success and you've been to 2 title games and you go to a Super Bowl. The fact that this isn't good enough for some people isn't a problem for Brock. It's a problem with people's expectations.
And is it even about him, Damon, or is it about Trey Lance? Is it about people's stances? I notice this a lot. There's a lot of people in the content creation lane and the lane that we're in right now that are so concerned about their credibility that they really are like, wouldn't admit that they were wrong about Trey Lance. I'll admit that I was wrong about Trey Lance. I still kind of think that Trey Lance someday could figure it out. But to this point, it has not happened. And to this point, he's a bust until proven otherwise. So all of us, and I put myself in there, who said, you know what, Trey Lance is going to be good, and the 49ers are in that group too, because obviously they took him third overall. We were all wrong, okay? We were wrong. And I almost feel like we need to get together somewhere for some kind of catharsis and just all yell at the mountaintops, we were wrong, and let's move on. But so many people didn't want to admit they were wrong, didn't want to move on, and their support of Trey Lance was manifested in downgrading anybody who prevented Trey Lance from starting, and they viewed Brock Purdy as that guy. And so I think there's an awful lot of people that owe Brock Purdy a major apology because they've been going at him and holding him to standards that are ridiculous simply because they preferred another guy or simply because they advocated for another guy and they feel like their credibility has been caught, they've lost credibility along the way and they don't like that.
It's when you think that your opinion trumps observable reality is when I stop paying attention to you. You know, it's one thing to come out with a hot position on a player and then, not pivot to, well, I guess I was wrong about that. But it's another thing to try to denounce actual results. Brock Purdy has actual results. How about this? Let's say everything that Brock Purdy has done was done by Trey Lance. The praise would be out of control. Everyone would talk about how this guy, I fucking love Trey Lance, man. Oh my God, look, if all of Brock's statistics were in the package of Trey Lance, everyone would be all about it because they'd be talking, well, we really need this guy to be great. Look at what we gave up for him. And he's been really good so far. And they go nuts about him. But because it was attached to a player who you bet against from the get-go, you never want to, there's no amount of actual football production that is going to be good enough for some of his critics. And then there's going to be no amount of actual good football business that's going to be good enough for some of his critics, which means you've just staked out a corner on the intersection of I don't believe in him and screw this guy, and you refuse to move. And you look ridiculous. Every car that drives past you can see that there's a reason why you're standing on this corner because nobody wants to pick you up because no one wants to listen to you anymore. I mean, here's the thing. Is Brock Purdy perfect? No, he's not. But it is so freaking good to start his career. All I'm going to tell you is if we are just at the beginning here of Brock Purdy's career and he now really starts taking off and being comfortable and knowing that he's not playing looking into a rearview mirror to see who might be behind him, or does Shanahan really believe in him, or does John Lynch really believe in him? They really believe in him. This contract says we really believe in you. If that allows Brock to take that next step, that next level up, well then holy shit, what are we looking at here? We are looking at one of the best quarterbacks in football. And this whole, Brock, do you believe you're a top 10 quarterback? Who cares?
He went on KMBR this morning and was asked that question. We'll get into some of the KMBR stuff.
Yeah, but who cares? Here's the thing. Some days he will be a top 10 quarterback. Some days he will throw 2 interceptions. They're going to lose that football game. And guess what? He wasn't a top 10 quarterback that day. It's not one moment. Everybody tries to use every single pass, every single series, every single game to have a referendum on the man's career. When you take a 30,000-foot look, bird's eye view, how do you not like what you see? It's just some people are impossible to please. There's no doubt about that.
Well, he's not a perfect player, but stop holding his stature against him. People love to, this person was profiling me and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Really, they were profiling you. This person just, maybe the police noticed a pattern in, when police are not supposed to notice patterns. You are who you are. You are the way you play. If you play well today, you're great today. If you play poorly today, there's a thing in radio. You're only as good as your last show, How good of a host are you? I don't know. The show last night sucked. Okay, you weren't very good. Oh, the show last night was great. Oh, you're a great host. People are walking around saying he's my favorite. So you're only as good as your last performance. It's all subjective. People are judging against him because he's a shorter guy with narrow shoulders. The reality is, and people were offended when I said that he's the same guy as Jalen Hurts. And I had all these people literally ripping the crap out of me. You can go check the video. It's on my YouTube from a couple years ago when I compared Brock Purdy to Jalen Hurts, and I really do believe.
I don't think I'm going to be researching this. I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean the comments were like, "You're crazy. You don't know football." They're exactly the same guy. I mean, exactly the same guy in so many ways. And I think the results are going to be very similar. I think Jalen Hurts is good enough to win a Super Bowl. He's good enough to beat Mahomes if you give him a good enough surrounding cast. And Brock Purdy is good enough to beat Mahomes if you give him a good enough surrounding cast. I mean, they're literally the same guys who almost accomplished the exact same thing in back-to-back years, except they didn't. And Mahomes made enough plays in the overtime and beat the Niners. Otherwise, he's 0-2 in the last two Super Bowls, and two non-elite quarterbacks beat him. So, but the bottom line on this, it's a full, I asked him about the full no trade clause. I said, how important was that to you? And he's like, it was something that we wanted in there, but it wasn't going to hold up the deal. If I didn't get that clause, it wasn't like I wasn't going to sign the deal. But it is interesting what that no trade clause, what the no trade clauses have become. It's not a guarantee you're not going to be traded. It's just basically leverage so that if things do go south, because things could go one of two ways. The Niners could win a bunch of games and Brock could be hailed as a genius and Kyle and John ride off into the sunset as conquering heroes. Or the Niners could win 5 games this year, 6 games next year. Shanahan and Lynch could get their sheets yanked by the Yorks. It could be a new head coach, a new regime that wants a new quarterback, and the whole thing, we could be starting fresh in 3 years. I mean, it's literally all those options are available, and, anything can happen here. So
look at where the Niners were 3 years ago. Look at where they are today. 3 years in the NFL is 10 years in another sport. I mean, it goes so fast and so much changes.
And also, it's going to come down to how well they support him. I mean, yeah. Brock Purdy's going to play like Brock Purdy. If the Niners can't build an offensive line around him, if they can't give him weapons, if they can't have a good defense, they're not going to win. And if they don't win, eventually Jed and the Yorks are going to pull the sheets on the regime and say, you know what, we didn't win. So it really just comes down to what kind of team can John Lynch build around Brock Purdy, and how good of a team can they produce? If they can produce a championship caliber team, and they got the quarterback and they got the head coach right now, if they can build a defense, an O-line, and some weapons around this guy, I really think he can get it done. So, by the way, my buddy in Vegas, because there were a lot of people saying, hey, the Niners ought to not pay Brock Purdy. And so I kind of wanted to explore that. What would not paying Brock Purdy mean, for this year? And I Grant's an advocate for don't pay Brock Purdy, go with Mac Jones and go get an Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. So I called my buddy Jay Cornegay in Vegas, and I said, Jay, what's the current over-under number on the 49ers? And he said they're sitting at every book on the strip at 10 wins. I said, okay, what would happen? Because he's one of those guys that, works with the odds and this and that. I go, what would happen? What would happen if Brock Purdy didn't exist and it was the Niners going with Aaron Rodgers? And he's like, well, it's funny that you should ask that because we did explore that because of the rumors that were out there. And the Niners, in his mind, he just sent this to me yesterday, would drop in Vegas from 10 wins over under to 9.5 wins if you took out Brock Purdy and put in Aaron Rodgers. So it's not going to make them better this year. It may save them money, but it's not going to make them better. Vegas would, if they had Aaron Rodgers and Mac Jones instead of Brock, their over-under goes down, not up.
Then you got to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? And what also comes with Aaron Rodgers are tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. him being on McAfee, airing dirty laundry every single week, an unnecessary amount of attention on a league that is already, drowning in attention. You have someone who is divisive by nature, and you get all that comes with that. With Brock, you just get a quarterback. That's it. You get a quarterback who would be a great Cub Scout leader. He's not here to talk about viruses. He's not here to talk about conspiracy theories. He's not here to get involved in any element of pushing any agenda other than, I just want to work hard at practice today. And that's who you want.
Right.
That's who you want. Someone who keeps the main thing. And I haven't heard Brock even dive into like his other interests, things that he really is passionate about. I don't know what they are, and I don't care.
Well, he likes fishing. He likes fishing. Fish. By the way, I misrepresented that. I said that Grant said go with Mac Jones and Aaron Rodgers. He has said that in the past, but he's saying they should have gone with Mac Jones and Shedeur Sanders and reset the rookie thing. And I understand the concept of, hey, guess what? You have a great chance when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal. But what it doesn't really acknowledge is how difficult it is and how rare it is and how many rookie quarterbacks get drafted who get nowhere near being Brock Purdy. And so just to assume that you could just be like, oh, well, we'll just go with Mac Jones and we'll just draft Shedeur and we're set. I would say, just chart that from here. Chart what Mac Jones and Shedeur do and go, hey, you know what? Should they have gone that route? I do understand that if you went with a rookie quarterback, you would have a much better roster, right? Because you wouldn't have to pay Brock all that money. You could have an extra O lineman. You could have an extra D lineman. You might be able to get a number one corner. You know what I mean? You could have 3 or 4 more pieces to the puzzle. So that is part of the equation. Brock stopped by today, by the way, on KMBR, and there were some good little outtakes from this thing. The first one, Damon, we're not going to play the soundbite, but we'll read you what he said. He was asked if he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And in the past, I think he's probably shied away from ranking himself, or I don't know. Right. I just try to be the best I can be.
He's not here to tout himself. I don't care. I'm the Niners starting quarterback. That's all I care about. Just being the best Niner quarterback I can be. If that puts me in the top 10, great.
I mean, I would, if it was me that was asked that question, I'd be like, hey guys, I understand, the question completely and why you want it to answer that. But I would say the only thing I could say definitively is I'm already in an incredibly exclusive club. I'm one of 32 NFL starting quarterbacks, and I'll just leave it at that. You guys, I play, you guys rank, and I'll let you guys rank them. But yeah, I already am grateful and hum best league for football there is, and that's good enough for me. But yeah, but he was asked, are you a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? And he said, yes, sir. For sure, I'm a top 10 quarterback. I'll leave it at that. Now, I like that.
Give me confidence. Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
I want my quarterbacks to believe in themselves, have pretty girlfriends and wives, drive fast cars, but not get speeding tickets. Be the guy. You are the guy. You've been asked to be the guy. You just signed an I'm the guy contract. And I guess George Kittle they had the Dwight Clark benefit thing just the other night, and George Kittle was already saying Brock is already got a little bit more of a strut around the locker room. His voice is a little octave louder than it was maybe a year ago, and that's good because he was just told implicitly by his team, by his coach, by his front office, you are the leader. This isn't Christian McCaffrey's team. This isn't Nick Bosa's team. This isn't the Deebo Samuel's team anymore. Obviously, this isn't Trent Williams' team. This isn't even Kyle Shanahan's team. It's yours now, Brock. This is your team, and they go where you take them. And I think they bet on the right guy. I think they bet on all you can do is place your bet on what you think gives you the best odds to win. Anyone who thinks that Shedeur Sanders or Mac Jones would keep the Super Bowl window open more than changing quarterbacks would help close a Super Bowl window, to me, is insane. You don't get off a horse the first minute that it stumbles when it's won as many races as Brock Purdy has already won. So I just think people are prisoners of moments, and they quickly forget what has been accomplished early in a career here. And it's a level of early career accomplishment and success that most Hall of Fame quarterbacks did not experience. Most guys in the Hall of Fame didn't have as good of a 3-year start to their careers as Brock has had. So that to me
which is why it's so impressive. Here's what Brock said when he was asked, do you want to buy anything?
When I signed this, I'm going to buy this for my wife, my parents, even yourself. Like, is it a big purchase or something? Maybe it's something small that now you can actually go get.
Man, we're still thinking about some stuff. But I don't know. I've always been a big fishing advocate. So I was telling my wife, and she's annoyed with me, but I'll say it, but I'd like to get a bass boat one day. So yeah, that'll be my first big purchase. Anyways.
You can tell he's kind of sheepish about that. Yeah. By the way, the absurdity of I mean, nothing against Carlos Ramirez. I love Carlos Ramirez. But the absurdity of that question. He made $950,000 last year. How many people making $950,000 are living paycheck to paycheck? Right. How many people making $950,000 a year haven't already bought themselves the car they want, the house they want, the toy? We're making it sound like this guy won the lottery and he was making he's working at Chuck E. Cheese making minimum wage, and now he's making it all. He was making $975,000 last year. Last I checked, you're going to do okay. There's lots of things you can buy with $975,000. The Bay Area is expensive to live in. It ain't that expensive.
Yeah, Brock Purdy was a millionaire before he signed this contract. Yeah. he was. So, look, now he has the level of money that means his kids, his grandchildren, he's got generational wealth. And that's, again, for a guy who is as family forward as he is, I just think that's, that you want your athletes to be as comfortable as possible. And Brock Purdy should be very, very comfortable with everything that happened. And to me, this whole debate about Super Bowl windows, is the Super Bowl window now more open than before? Is it closed more than before? Is it, and somebody was like, yeah, Damon, they regressed to somebody had it here. There's like, yeah, dude, 6-11 is a stumble. Okay, that's Joseph Ehrenberg, our guy, Mr. Positivity, Joseph Ehrenberg. 6-11 is a stumble. Okay, Damon. Yeah, they're one of the win the NFC this year. That means everyone looks at last year as a one-off, not an indication of what is about to have happen. Everyone looks at last year and says, well, that was, things did go wrong, but this is not a franchise that is now defined by those things that went wrong. They will hopefully put what went wrong behind them and continue to have one of the better 6-year stretches in all of football that they've been on.
It's funny. Dante Whitner was the one who said it. He was the one who said it. He was on with Kay Adams yesterday, and he said he thinks the Niners Super Bowl window's closing because of their O-line and this and that. And I just fundamentally disagree. Purdy was asked today on KMBR if he hears the experts saying that the Niners Super Bowl window is closed. They didn't name Dante Whitner by name, but Whitner was the one who was saying this. So here is Purdy. He says, I can tell you that nobody buys into what the outside world says. Just the energy here in our locker room and out on the practice field. Everyone has a chip on their shoulder, which excites me because I feel like the best teams and situations come from when people are doubting you. So, yeah, so you know what? They love being doubted. Doubt away. And Purdy was also asked, this is kind of interesting too, this is Purdy's message to people who say the Niners' offensive line needed to be upgraded this offseason. He says, every game and situation is different and things happen and whatnot, But those guys up front, they are war daddies. Every single day they come into work getting better. I've got their back. They've got mine. We're going to be just fine. And these guys have what it takes to have a successful season. Everybody's going to find out soon. Okay.
That's what you want your quarterback to say, even if he doesn't believe it, even if in his heart he's like, yeah, these fucking bums in front of me are going to get my ass kicked. You don't say that. You say exactly what Brock said. Another reason why you want that guy to be the face of your franchise. Because if he says the wrong thing, it's a lead story in the A block of NFL Network. You know, I mean,
this guy is like a Derek Jeter. He always says the right thing.
Right. But it's not.
How many times has Brock Purdy? I mean, go ahead. How many times has Brock Purdy ever said the wrong thing where you're like, you know what? That didn't sound right.
Right. You know, somebody was when like the whole Brandon Ayuk thing was coming around, and you know he basically said, you know, I'm part of the team, and I hope he will be too. He didn't come out and, you know, endorse his teammates' quest to get traded. Basically, like, you know, that I thought he handled that whole thing too, and that's the closest people came to criticizing what he said in any moment that I've heard. I just think the guy, again, he's unprovocative. He just does and says the right thing, and he normally plays the right way. Not every single pass will be perfect. He will throw an interception. I'm going to take it a step further. Larry, 49ers are going to lose a game this year. And in that moment, it would be stupid to try to reevaluate the entire situation and the entire team and turn the whole thing over instantly. And that's what people want to do. People just want to have a game of go fish with players that played poorly last week. Go get me new guys. Go get, you know, there's no reason to coach them harder, practice smarter, get better, improve. It's amazing to me. And let me tell you, you know, you want to know how a Super Bowl window really stays open? You keep the players that you think are foundational pieces in the same place as long as you can. And you know that you can also say, well, that's how you get old. Okay, you know, I hear you, but I still think I want veteran proven presences. They help teams more often than not. Dave Lombardi, a couple days ago, he's like, there's a nearly $1 billion foundation in 9 players now. $912 million in new contracts have been given to their 9 core players in the past 20 months. Purdy, Bosa, Ayuk, Lenoir, Williams, Kittle, Warner, McCaffrey, and Juszczyk. All those guys on your team makes me think your Super Bowl window remains available. Now, whether you walk through it or not, we'll have to see how the season goes. Every single team in this league is hinging on the phrase, if healthy, blah, blah, blah. If healthy, I think the 49ers Super Bowl window is still open. And one of the reasons why it looked like it was closing last year is because the if healthy was missing from the equation completely. They were not healthy. They were staggeringly damaged in terms of games lost to injury. And if you want to say, well, that doesn't matter, man, just go out and win. Okay, buy a fucking T-shirt that says win football games, and that's all you know.
Well, no, but I mean, they're still hurt. I mean, you're not going to have Ayuk. You don't have Debo's gone. I
don't think
CMC
hurt the team.
Well, I mean, I do. I mean, Deebo Samuel is one of the best players in the league.
I mean,
for a long time.
Ago.
Still, I mean, you replaced him with what? Nobody. You didn't replace him at all. He left. The guys that are there were guys that were there before anyway. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody knows. I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is going to be the Ricky Pearsall that he was his entire 49er tenure, or if he's going to be the Ricky Pearsall that played the last 2 games. I don't know. I'm hoping he's be the guy who played the last 2 games. But you know, odds are that he's probably more like the guy who played all those other games. So, you know, I don't know what Ricky Pearsall is going to be. And I don't know that Jawan Jennings can be the number 1 receiver and stand up to number 1 corners every week and produce. And I don't know that George Kittle can still do it at 30. And I don't know that CMC is over the chronic tendonitis in both Achilles and the PCL injury. And now this year, we're supposed to believe that that's all just last year and that this guy with all this mileage on him is going to be totally injury free. It's just not very plausible. It doesn't seem very likely. And then as far as this O-line, it's noble, that Brock likes his guys. Heck, him and his wife were golfing with Jake Brendel and his wife at the Olympic Club when John Lynch FaceTimed him to tell him that the deal was done. So we know that he loves Jake Brendel.
By the
but PFF doesn't.
Don't worry about anybody's money who's got a tee time at the Olympic Club, by the way.
Yeah, something tells me those guys didn't pay. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, Brock can say his line's good, but PFF doesn't think it's good. Trent Williams missed a ton of games. Your left guard is now in Green Bay. You don't have a starting left guard. It wasn't like you drafted some guy in the first round. You're just taking Ben Barch, who was a street free agent, and just saying, hey, you get in there. So is that going to be better than a second-round pick in Aaron Banks? Probably not. So you probably didn't upgrade at left guard. Trent Williams is a year closer to retirement. Jake Brendel was one of the lowest-rated centers in pro football last year. You've got Dom Pooney at right guard. I like him a lot. I think Colt McKivitz is pretty underrated at right tackle. But, I mean, their offensive line is not a premier offensive line. And you just lost your two top receivers. And there's just a lot of unknowns here. So you have three quarters of your defensive line are rookies. If things go well. And if they're not rookies, they're just guys. They're guys like Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens and guys that are just guys. Fred's older. He just signed an extension, but he's older. Greenlaw's gone. Hafanga's gone. Malik Mustafa's got an ACL. I mean, you don't for sure know who your kicker is. I mean, the 49ers have a lot of work on, to do this summer, and they got there's a lot of ifs here. So right. I'm optimistic, but I'm not a fool.
There's 100 days at least between now and the start of the season. This is, it's May 22nd. So who you are on May 22nd is not who you're going to be on, late August, early September when this all starts really happening. You're right.
Optimism's good, but blind optimism is not.
So let me ask you, you got a $100 bill to bring to your friend Jay Cornegay at any of his books in Vegas, and the line is 10, over under. You're going to put your over under bet on the Niners at 10 right now, $100. Which way are you going?
I'm going over.
I would too. And it's not because I'm some pie in the sky, wide-eyed, hopeful 49er fan. As a matter of fact, 49er fan has never been a way to describe me. I cover the team. And I think that they are going to have a pretty damn good year in spite of all the legitimate things that you just brought up, because they're better on special teams, I hope. And they're going to get better defensively with Saleh back in the room, I'd hope. Now, none of those rookies that they drafted up front work out. Deommodore Lenoir gets hurt week 1. Yeah, it all falls apart real quick. But
their margin for error is slim, but the schedule is cake, and
as close to cake as football the NFL will let you get, anyways.
It looks really, really easy.
The other thing that I guess George Kittle brought up at the Dwight Clark event, where Deommodore Lenoir, by the way, was honored. He won the 2025 Dwight Clark Legacy Award. So I really think Lenoir is about to take a big step forward this year in his career and be one of the most important players for the Niners. But he said that Jacob Cowing has really rocked himself up this offseason and put on a lot of muscle, and that's good. He needs to.
Yeah.
Again, what if Jacob Cowing at this year becomes part of the answer and he's not still a question?
Yeah, it's possible. I really like him. I mean, I liked him in college at UTEP. I liked him at Arizona. He played opposite Teteroa McMillan 2 years ago, and he was a really, really good player. I thought, but last year he was too weak, 170 pounds, couldn't keep his feet, couldn't stay on the field, couldn't get on the field. So yeah, I have hope for him for sure. I definitely do. And I have hope for Jordan Watkins. I mean, I got hope for a lot of guys, and I think the 49ers are probably going to win 12 games. And I think they'll win a playoff game. But, it's not a perfect team, and it's an older team in some areas. They're going to need health. They're going to need good fortune. And they're going to need their offensive line to really step up, because, I mean, what happened last year? and it's funny. I asked Brock Purdy, I said, what do you, I said to him, Clay Kubiak said you're having an awesome offseason, that you want to be coached hard, that you want them to throw all the things that you're not good at you and force you to get better. So I go, what, looking back at last season, did you not like, or what did you want to get better at? And, he's what I love about Brock is if you ask him a good question, he will give you a well thought out answer. And he said, look, in the past, he said, I spent a lot of time this year looking at my rookie film, because my rookie film, I was just trying to remember the play and have the proper mechanics as far as my footwork. And then I was just trying to get the ball out of my hands to one of my weapons as fast as possible and get on to the next play.
And that's it.
And last year, I held the ball too long. And he didn't really say he held the ball too long, but he basically last year, he's like, and then basically he did hold the ball for an extra second or so.
Let me ask you this, Larry. Do you think he held the ball too long because he was breaking down mentally and his mechanics were off and his timing were off? Or was he holding the ball too long because nobody was open?
Oh, he was holding the ball because nobody was open. But the question is this. There were opportunities, and several, we talked about it in real time last year, where he dropped back to pass and he had a guy open, but he didn't go to him, and he starts to scan the field. And now he's moving to a second launch point, right? And he's buying himself more time. And I would say a number of times that he did that, Damon, he made good plays. But then there were a bunch of other times, especially in the second half of the year, after defenses like Kansas City kind of sped him up, and a couple other defenses showed that they could speed him up a little bit, and the separation was getting worse and the injuries were mounting. He started to kind of hold it more regularly. And the lack of offensive rhythm started to hurt the 49ers, and the negative plays late in the down, negative plays late in the middle of the field, late here, late to a progression. And his whole clock got distorted and off kilter. And I think he wants to get back to just, call the play, take the drop, have the proper footwork, and get the ball out on time and maintain a little rhythm. And you can see, and he talked about it yesterday, that he wants to get back, that he's watched his, he's like, I was hungrier as a rookie. I just wanted to win the play and get to the next one instead of trying to make the big play. And last year, with all the, the walls kind of crashing down around him, I think he tried to do a little bit too much. He held the ball too long. A lot of negative plays came from it, including a lot of turnovers. And I think that's the part of his game he wants to kind of eradicate.
I think
he said basically, I need to improve my fundamentals. I need to improve my footwork.
Yeah, I think a lot of his mistakes,
back to basics,
I think a lot of his mistakes last year were predicated by the situation that caused the mistakes, not him being unprepared or unready to meet the moment. That's the stuff that I worry about. Mistakes happen in a 100-mile-an-hour football game in real time. They do happen. Interceptions happen, fumbles happen. Good players, great players, all make mistakes in this league. The other teams are really good out there. They really are. So you want everyone put in the best situation that they can be in by quality coaching. And this isn't, I see this over here from Charlie. Charlie says adding Saleh, Gus Bradley, a new special teams coach isn't hopium. That's real. Exactly. Some people are saying, well, you bring in these new coaches, you're just hoping things get better. No, better coaches usually do mean things get better.
I mean, special teams cannot get worse.
Right. You can't get.
They were 32nd. They were dead last.
33rd special teams team. There is no.
They're going to be better on special teams, and I agree. Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley is a huge step up from Steve Wilkes and Nick Sorensen.
Are you kidding me? Yes, first of all, Steve Wilkes is done coaching in football, as we know right now.
Well, no, he's not done. He's coaching
on anybody's team right now.
I don't know if he is. I think he might be coaching college, but I don't know that for sure.
I'm not aware that he's a part of any NFL or college staff at this particular time. Nick Sorensen will probably never get another bite at defensive coordinator apple. Not only did his team underperform, but he also just he wasn't comfortable there. He wasn't comfortable. There are some coaches you send to the podium and there's some you keep away. I would keep him away. Maybe he learns and develops and grows. He's still a very young man, but Robert Saleh is going to be he will get another bite at the head coaching apple. I really believe that. Gus Bradley has been a head coach. I think these things matter. I think that matters. It really does. You know what? You know who I kind of like this year a little bit? The Raiders. It's because Pete Carroll's there. And Pete Carroll's a legit freaking coach. Pete Carroll is going to be the most legit coach that this team has had in a really long time. And I don't care who their players are. That legit coach will get better performances out of average players than bad coaches were able to get out of, great players. Not that the Raiders were stacked with great players, but I think coaching really matters in football more than any other sport. Coaching in football matters more than baseball managing, until you get into the playoffs, obviously. Matters more than NBA coaches. Hockey coaches are the single most next dude up disposable coaches in all sports. Teams fire their NHL head coach and go win the Stanley Cup. It's really weird. I like the way the Niners have built themselves. I like the way that they reached this point. I think that there has been a steady stream of success. Last year was a big slice of humble pie. I hope that they digested it well and are ready to go when the bullets start flying here in week 1. I think they're going to be a good football team this year. Results not guaranteed, but I think they're going to be a good team. Is there any other Brock quote you wanted to get to? Because there are a couple of other NFL things here that we got to tack onto the show before we hop into the Super.
One quick thought on the Raiders. No team got hit harder by the NFL schedule makers this year than the Raiders. I don't know if you've looked at it, but fewest rest edge games. The Raiders only have one game all season where they have a rest advantage on their opponent. They have 6 games where there's a rest disadvantage. And the Raiders are the Niners from last year as far as the schedule. They have a net negative 19 days of rest, worst in the NFL of among all teams. They have early road games, short weeks. It's a brutal setup.
It isn't good, but I bet you they're a better football team. I don't even know if their record.
No, I agree. I mean, I love their draft. I love their offseason. But just before you hear that and go, man, Damon and Larry are all over it, I'm going to go bet the Raiders over. I just wanted to throw that out just to let people know that, hey, look, the schedule-wise is hitting the Raiders hard. And by the way, on the other end of the spectrum, if you're saying, give me somebody that maybe I should take a look at, well, the NFL team that has the best rest edge this year is the Detroit Lions. With 13 days of rest over their opponents over the course of the season. That's the 5th largest rest edge in the last 25 years. So it's definitely a year where the rest, if you're just going rest, and believe me, this is a factor that I'm late to the party on. Like I'd never, ever, ever, ever considered rest until like 2 years ago. But over the last couple of years, I've been charting it a little bit, and man, when you see, like I swear to you, it's uncanny when you go and see any week in the NFL where you're like, whoa, Team A beat Team B, and you really were shocked by it. 9 times out of 10, when you go to look at the rest disparity, that is the answer.
Who's coming off a bye?
Bad team X beat awesome team Y. Bad team X was incredibly rested, and great team Y was, in the other end of the spectrum. They were, not rest, short rest, whatever. That's when you see those scores that are like, what? Things that don't make sense. Go cite the rest equation, and you'll see that's where the answer lies. Rest is a huge part of NFL football. The Niners 2 years ago had a negative 13 rest disadvantage against the Bengals. Damon, I was at that game. They could not stop the Bengals if their life depended on it. The Bengals did everything and anything they wanted all day. They looked like twice the team the 49ers were, and that Niner team went to the Super Bowl. Right? Yeah. I think I believe that was the same year. Maybe I'm confusing my years, but I'm pretty sure the Bengals crushed the Niners and the Niners still went to the Super Bowl. Maybe I'm confusing my years, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. As far as you asked, is there any other notes coming out of Ninerland today before we move in? There is one of note. The 49ers, and this is off Coach Yak's Twitter, the 49ers are expected to hire former Jaguars assistant GM Ethan Waugh. So Ethan Waugh, who was a 49er executive when John Lynch was here, followed Trent Baalke to Jacksonville, and then led the Jacksonville GM search that went to James Gladstone, was a candidate in Jacksonville, didn't get the job. Well, as soon as he didn't get the job, it's like he's dead man walking in Jacksonville. And so he needed a new opportunity. And you call your friends in this biz. And I'm sure he called Jed and people with the Niners. Ethan was with the Niners personnel department for 17 seasons before jumping to Jacksonville with Trent Baalke. Aaron Wilson out of Houston, NFL reporter, is reporting the Niners will bring Ethan Waugh back to the organization. So good. That's a good one. That's a veteran personnel guy who's been elsewhere, who's a solid personnel evaluator, who knows your system and knows your organization, and you're bringing him back in. So good move. I think that's a good move.
I've always liked familiarity. Second bites at the apple. Especially when you go somewhere, there's a lot of people who are in good situations, then they leave thinking that they're going to be in a better situation. They quickly found out, oh, this isn't as good as where I was. How long did it take under Trent Baalke for him to realize, like, oh, maybe I should have stayed in San Francisco after all? But look, you can't ever slight a guy for pursuing career opportunities. And sometimes you got to take another step backwards to take another step forwards. And hey, Robert Saleh knows all about that, right? So
yeah. It's not a linear, the way this thing works. It's like, there's all kinds of factors that lead to winning and losing, and then the coaches kind of have to fill in around it.
Let's see. The only other bit of Niners news that I want to share on this show today, again, like and subscribe, our good friends. How many people we got in the room watching? How many likes do we have? Let's get them up. Thumbs up all around, please.
Yeah, hit like and subscribe. If you've, we don't say that a lot, but hit like and subscribe. If you hit like, that just helps the algorithm. More people find the show, and it really grows the show and grows the stream. And then if you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell on both channels, anytime Damon goes live over at the Plus or I go live here at the Krueg Show, you'll just get a little alert. Ta-ding! Hey, you know what? And you don't have to miss any of it, or you just know, hey, you know what? Now I got something to do later. I'm busy now. I can't check it out now, but I will check it out later this afternoon. So thanks to everybody.
Thursday today. Normally it's Monday and Friday. Why is it Thursday? Well, you hit that notification button. You don't need to worry about it. You ain't going to miss anything. We got preseason. We knew the dates. Now we got times for the 49ers preseason schedule. They've got 2 home games on August 9th and August 23rd. Those are against the Broncos and Chargers. Both those games, 5:30 kickoff times at Levi's Stadium. They're going to be in Vegas taking on the Raiders in between on August 16th. And that's going to be a 1:00, which is, look, the 49ers will be back in their beds that very night. They'll be very happy with that. Good preseason schedule. And I believe joint practices are being scheduled with both the Raiders and the Broncos, or is it the Chargers?
I think it's one day of practice in Vegas with the Raiders. There'll be one day of joint practice in Vegas, and then there'll be, I believe, 2 days of joint practice probably here in Santa Clara before the 49ers take on the Broncos. So, and the Krueg Show may be traveling to Vegas for that one practice day. We're not really sure because the Raiders are so bad, Damon, at giving the media anything. I don't know if you noticed, but last time the Niners went to Vegas and practiced with the Raiders, the media were held 2 football fields away from – there's 2 practice fields in front of the field that they were on, and they made the media stand on the other end of 2 practice fields. So it's like you're going to fly to Vegas and go to practice to try to cover it, and you're literally watching something that's about 110 yards away. I don't know. It's
Greg Papa who got didn't this happen?
No,
to
Greg. Yeah, well, they wouldn't let the Raiders are obviously anti-Papa now. They used to be pro-Papa. Wouldn't let him have any access either. So
right, this happened to Kawakami and Cam Inman too, or was it a Screw Greg Papa thing from Mark?
No, it was everybody. It was everybody.
Oh, okay.
But they make no exceptions, and so I don't. Who knows? But that's what I'm debating whether or not to go to Vegas, because I don't want to be I don't want to go to Vegas, pay for a flight, pay for a hotel room, the whole deal, and be standing 200 yards away with no ability to film anything and bring anything back.
How about this, Gary? You go to Vegas, you pay for the flight, you pay for your hotel room, you go down, you crush blackjack, and then you pay for the rest of your life. You don't even forget going to the freaking Raiders practice facility. Just go to Vegas to have a good time.
Maybe go hang at the Win with Stefan, your buddy Stefan or whatever. We'll go hit the steakhouse and do the whole thing up just like Super Bowl week. Maybe go see my buddy Big Mo Easy. Maybe see if he can take me back to Golden Steer for an amazing steak dinner.
Didn't get the invite to Golden Steer. Maybe next year. Maybe
I had no idea we were going there. This guy was like, "Hey man, I want to take you to the best steakhouse." And I'll say this. We had gone the night before to stay out to dinner with your buddy at the Win. Yeah. And that was an unbelievably impressive steakhouse in and of itself, I thought. This didn't look like, from the outside, I thought it was not going to be as good, right, but it's just kind of an old school look. Inside, it's like the spot. And the food was absolute. I mean, both dinners were spectacular, by the way. But because the dinner we had at, what was the name of that place again?
SW, Steve Wynn Steakhouse.
Oh, I mean, some of the great. I mean, even Kev to this day is like, Dad, that Yorkshire pie or whatever. I forget exactly what it was, like a pretzel something or other. It was amazing. Do you remember that?
So I remember, it was like monkey bread or something.
I mean, it was awesome, man. It was like the greatest bread that anybody ever brought us.
I remember. So at that dinner, you were sitting across from me. I'm sitting next to Kevin. Kevin, like any kid in college, he opens up the menu and his eyes go to prices first.
Yeah.
And I hear Kevin just go, "Fuck." and I leaned over and I was like, "Don't worry, kid, you ain't paying."
Exactly. And we should thank your buddy again, because your buddy did pick up that tab, and that tab had to be about $900.
Thank you, Stefan. Absolutely. I think he's got a lot of credit at Steve Wynn. That guy runs up.
He did change his chair 3 times in the middle of dinner.
I wouldn't say he's the easiest guy to wait on, but hopefully he tips generously. Indeed.
Couple other Niner notes of note. Yeah. The Niners are missing out, or not missing out. You've missed work. I don't know that I've missed it. Well, the 49ers are missing HBO's Hard Knocks, but I don't know that they missed it.
Right.
But HBO is focusing this year on the Buffalo Bills. And there was some talk, Damon, they would choose the NFC West as their in-season division Hard Knocks, but of course not. Why would you go with the boring NFC West when you could go with the exciting NFC East with the defending Super Bowl champions, Dallas, Washington, and the New York Giants?
Right. You got a dysfunctional team. You got the Cowboys. You got the defending champs, and you got the biggest up-and-coming rising team in the league. I get why they picked the East, too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pick the East. You got Jerry Jones. You got the tire fire of Daboll and Shane, and those guys are getting fired. You got Jaden Daniels year 2, and you got the defending Super Bowl champs and the Tush-Push and all that.
By the way, Tush-Push remains, Larry. I'm pro Tush-Push. I know you're anti Tush-Push.
No, I'm not anti Tush-Push. I'm not in favor of banning the Tush-Push. I just don't like the Tush-Push, and I want to see it stopped. But I would not ban it. And I talked about this last night. I just don't really believe in banning things. I mean, I just think that it's a strategy. And if somebody else, and don't tell me it's not a strategy, the Eagles they had Jason Kelsey 2 years ago. He's a Hall of Famer. They had Landon Dickerson. He's 360 pounds, the left guard. You had 370-pound, Mekhi Becton at right guard. You got a powerhouse back in the backfield in Saquon, or you've got the quarterback with who squats 1,100 pounds and Jalen Hurts. It's like you have the personnel at the point of attack to blow people out of the hole and to win at the line of scrimmage at the point. And I understand why they're doing it. I would, instead of eliminating it or ruling against it, I would have drafted Desmond Watson from Florida and just said, hey, you want to have a caveman tactic? Here's our caveman counter. You're going big. We're going bigger. We got a guy who's 460 pounds, but I know there are a lot of football people that didn't want to vote against it. It lost by 2 votes. It needed 24 votes to ban it. It got 22 votes. It's still the vote was 22-10, but it needed to be 24-8.
That was the final score of the Eagles-Phillies playoff game too, 22-10. How perfect is that?
Yeah. Well, and I know there's a lot of people are like, oh, the Packers are weak and all this stuff for suggesting it, but it's not a football play. It's not. I mean, it's not a football play. I mean, I don't know what to say about it other than it's literally just force. I don't get why. Here's the thing. There was a rule years ago that was changed. There used to be a rule that you could not push any player. You couldn't push a quarterback. You couldn't push a running back. You couldn't push a receiver. The player had to be his own engine. Well, somewhere along the line, they allowed teams to push other players, and that's the rule that needs to be changed. And then that would essentially eliminate the Tush-Push. As I said, I don't like artificially changing things. I'm more about, hey, somebody strategically beat it, and then we'll move on from there. But this isn't really a football play, and that's the only thing I don't like about it, Damon, is I kind of feel like it feels like it feels like we're going down the wrong route. It's like the NBA rewarded skill. They used to have brute force, but now they got rid of brute force and all the hacking, and they said let's err on the side of skill. I'd like to see the NFL err on the side of skill, because I mean, what's the counter? I mean, is this going to go on continuously, and then what? We're going to start getting like sumo wrestlers and guys who weigh 500 pounds. And,
you need to put him in the goalie. Why would you get a sumo and just put the Sharks should sign the most. The best esprit de corps sumo wrestler who's good on skates.
Well, that's a great example. Who's the biggest, widest guy in the NFL? It's probably this Desmond Watson now, who's 464 pounds, who was on Tampa's, undrafted list.
I think he's already lost like 70 pounds. Like he's
right. He doesn't want to be 450. He wants it because he's going to be, he's obese and he needs to lose that weight, or he's going to have a massive heart attack and die. I mean, it's kind of tragic that he's in this situation. But, so what are you going to do? You're going to take Desmond Watson and put him in the goal for the NHL because there's, a certain amount of surface space and he blocks 90% of the surface space. So you can only score in the 10% of remaining surface space.
Yeah, I'd be looking for fat sumo goalies if I was in the NHL right now. Absolutely.
Right. I mean, exactly. So I mean, is that good? You know what I mean? Is this a good development for the NFL? I don't think it is.
It's good if your goaltender is leading the league in save percentage. No fan's going to complain about it.
No, but here's what it comes down to. Right now, I think the play average is like 3.5 yards. But what if it gets to a point where it averages 4.5 yards? And then what if a team in a big, big game like the Eagles got, I don't know, a 14-0 lead in the first half and then just said, you know what? We're gonna go tush-push, ball control. We're going to intentionally try to not really move the ball except just get first downs. And we're just going to play time of possession, Tush-Push and try to have two 25-minute drives and put the game away.
What's the
It
difference?
would be bad to watch. It would be boring as hell. People would really be pissed, and the league would rule against it because they don't want a rule that somehow eliminates action. They want more action, not less.
No coach's ego is going to allow them to run the same play over and over again. It wouldn't happen.
They want to win bad enough, they will.
I don't think you can really worry about that. It's not going to happen. But, I mean, if you could close out a game like that in a big game, I mean, what's the difference between that and Dean Smith running four corners on you and cooking?
Well, that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
They got rid of that. You're right. It's like it would be like that. That's exactly what it would be like. It would be like pissing away the entire game on a strategic wrinkle. And I don't know if I like that. In fact, I know I don't like that. And I'll say this. What if the Eagles just get a little bit better at this and they can go no huddle, Tush-Push all the way down the field? That is awful football to watch, and they would do it like twice before it would be banned.
Where's the good news?
Could you imagine what that would be like?
Unless the Eagles are a standalone game, go watch another game. If this game's boring to you, well, there's 9 others on right now. Go watch one of those.
Yeah, but it's the lack. It's basically incentivizing the lack of action. Here's the other problem. Is that it's a play that's totally predicated on when does the whistle blow for halting forward progress. So if you're going to give a play 10, 12 seconds, so you have your initial surge and then there's some resistance, but then the whistle doesn't blow. And now here comes a second surge and there's some resistance, but their whistle doesn't blow. And now here's a third surge. Well, almost always, if you give the offensive line 3 surges, the defensive line is going to take a breath at some point, and it's almost like a tug of war thing. And then all of a sudden, the offense is going to win. So, to me, I think it's really complicated. It's a complicated rule because it's all predicated on when do you blow the whistle. I'm okay with the Tush-Push as long as you blow the whistle within 3 seconds. But if you give them a second push and a third push, to me, that's not football.
The other bit of news that came out of this owners meeting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think, the Lions actually pulled their proposal because it didn't have enough support. They didn't even bring it to a vote for reseeding. And I'm glad that happened. Mike Tomlin had a quote here from the last owners meeting, the one that happened in Florida. And I've never even heard this. And it's who I am too. Mike Tomlin said, I'm a division purist, to be quite honest with you. I love rivalries that are division play. I love the structure of our scheduling that highlights it. I categorize myself as a division purist. I am too. And in a world where college is being stripped of its natural rivalries due to conference realignment, it would be a big mistake for the NFL, I think, to go down that road too. There needs to be something about beating your rivals. If the Lions' idea to, we're just seeding based on record, if that were to happen, we should just eliminate divisions altogether. Why play the Rams twice if your division record isn't going to? Why play the Seahawks twice if your division record ultimately won't reward your division winner with a home playoff game? So I'm glad the NFL basically took a look at that and said, nah, we ain't even going to vote on it. And the Lions pulled it before it could even be voted on. Like you said, the Bills are going to be on Hard Knocks. NFC East is going to be in-season Hard Knocks. What else did we have here? There's one more thing. Oh, yeah. The one NFL owner that you would actually want to hang out with passed away. Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay. And look, I just know what he's meant to the state of Indiana because I went to school there. And Irsay and the Colts changed the culture of Indiana. I mean, football was far and away the inferior sport in the state of Indiana to the sport of basketball. Peyton Manning and the Colts changed that. And Jim Irsay was a complicated guy who had his demons, was a very good guy to the people that knew him, to the city of Indianapolis. Jim Irsay had, I think, one of the world's greatest collection of guitars. He loved music. He had an original, handwritten manuscript of On the Road by Jack Kerouac, which was one of his treasured possessions. He's a grew-up rich kid who always kind of had a blue collar mentality about him. Do you know that he was the Colts general manager at the age of 24, Larry? He was the Colts general manager when he was 24 years old. You want to talk about a little nepotism? But Jim Irsay lived hard, had some demons, and that probably is a reason why he's not here today. But he was only, 65 years old? Is that it? I mean, he died very young, especially for a wealthy person. And all I can say is that there's a big reason why that Halliburton shot bounced into that hoop last night. And I think it's the Irsay ghost who made that happen, Larry.
That was a wild, wild shot for sure. You know, Jim Irsay, you can't say he was a successful football man because he really wasn't. But Bill Polian had a nice little run there.
More games in the 90s than I think any other football. They were very successful. They might have only won one Super Bowl, but they were an incredibly successful franchise for a portion of Jim Irsay's tenureship there. And I'll tell you what I really like about Jim Irsay, he was the one NFL owner who did publicly, before it was fashionable to say so, be like, Daniel Snyder's not helping the product. Jim Irsay's public comments about Daniel Snyder, I think, really turned the tide against him as well. So I'll give him credit.
Didn't Jim Irsay get caught with a big bag of pills?
Oh, yeah, dude. He had demons right around his house in Carmel. Carmel, Indiana is where all the rich people live. Geist Lake is where the really rich people live, around that lake in Indiana. And yeah, Jim Irsay was out driving. And then he had a terrible quote where he's like, yeah, they're targeting me because I'm a billionaire. Like that, he was a flawed, damaged man in a lot of ways. He was also a really good, generous, community forward. He helped battle addiction, the mental health awareness thing that the NFL was pushing a few years ago. That came out of Indianapolis and one of his initiatives. So he did wrong. He did right. Like all our interesting characters, he was a little flawed, a little damaged. The NFL is a less interesting place without Jim Irsay. I mean, I was just watching him tweet a couple days ago. He would give out Super Bowl tickets for just answering trivia questions. He flew the entire organization, everybody, to the Colts Super Bowl win over the Chicago Bears when Peyton Manning did it. And, I like owners like that. There was more Eddie DeBartolo in him than there was, I don't know, who's an owner that you don't like, and that guy. So
I don't know. I'll say this about Irsay. I mean, if you get a chance, go watch the 83 draft video, where they talk about, Elway coming out, and, you had the general manager there trying to make the right deal. And it's, it was just, there was a lot of good stuff in that 83 draft video about, how John Elway didn't want to play for the Irsays. He didn't want to play for the Colts.
Well, Irsay's dad was a disaster. He was a cocktail in hand, clinky,
Bob Irsay, is that what?
Drunk. Yeah, he was a drunk. He wasn't a guy with a drinking problem. He was a drunk. And he embarrassed himself many, many times. Jim Irsay, when he was 16 years old, had to get on the team's bus and apologize for his father's behavior. I mean, that's a little complicated. Anyways,
they were not the finest organization. That's for sure. But they did get Bill Polian and Tony Dungy, and they found a way to have some success there for a while with Peyton Manning.
Look at it this way.
So rest in peace.
Hunter S. Thompson, like Jim Irsay. I'm kind of a Hunter S. Thompson guy too. So there you go. Let's hop into these supers, Larry. I do have to get going before I'm on back 11 here on the Plus. I got Sam Batesh coming in with us today. Looking forward to doing that at 11 o'clock. We're going to talk about things that aren't just the Niners, but we're going to start with the Niners and talk about how I think this Super Bowl window remains open, even though some others do not.
All right. We got this one. Robert Spang says, love you guys.
Love you,
MSQ in the house says, wake up on a Thursday, LOL. What's the occasion?
Memorial Day weekend. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I won't be back on Monday, so we'll have to have a moving wake up next week too.
There you go. Fuji Simeon says, that's crazy. PFF ranks Geno Smith above Purdy. I know, I saw that. That was ridiculous. Some analysts even say Tua, Trevor, and Dak are better than Purdy. I'm shocked how quick the deal was made. I think Brock basically said to his agent, you get me there by OTAs. And the only way to guarantee you're going to be there by OTAs is to make sure that you're there before OTAs. The deal's done before OTAs, and sure enough, it was. Fuji Simeon says, LOL, Larry, maybe Purdy will accept apology from people who were wrong about him in the form of a bass boat. Would the team walk away if he wanted Dak money? I don't think they would have walked away, but this deal would have dragged into training camp in maybe September.
Right. You want contentious? Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Niners have proven that they wanted to get their financial house in order and not get taken on so many deals. And I think this one, I think Kyle Strongen deserves a little credit as well, because I think he knew that Brock wanted to get this deal done. And so he got this thing to the finish line. And you know, in a nice, orderly fashion. JC Mania says, why does Purdy get criticized as a top 5 quarterback but doesn't get the praise and recognition of a top 5 quarterback? Thoughts? I think he gets criticized by people saying that he's not a top 5 quarterback, and I don't necessarily think he is either. I would say he's a top 10 quarterback, and that's what Brock said. I mean, Brock said it boldly today on KMBR. Are you a top 10 quarterback? Yes, sir, I'm a top 10 quarterback. And I think that's, if I was him, that's the line I'd stick with as well, because I don't, top 5, top 10, yeah. Fuji Simeon, Colin Cowherd will be happy Purdy matured and didn't wear a hat to the press conference. Larry, do they provide food for the media at these events? They did not. They did not yesterday, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. As far as his hat backward, I mean, seriously, Colin Cowherd, can you make yourself sound older than that? I mean, that was like a Junior Griffey discussion in like 1990, right. 1990. You know what I mean? This is, seriously, we're 35 years after we discussed Junior Griffey. Can he wear the hat backward? And Colin Cowherd's getting on it now. I mean, dude, talk about being late to the party.
I don't want to hear a word about a backwards hat unless you do entire shows about what the fuck is Cam Newton wearing today.
Yeah, backwards hat. Like that's some big thing. You don't look like a pro. No, whatever. Joseph Ernberg, they need 2+ seasons to build a championship team. We're fucked. All right, there you go. Ernberg, doing Ernberg. Clarence Beeks, member for 14 months. It's 1:45 a.m. and only Purdy was left. What are you gonna do? What?
Is that like a setup for a movie or something? Or I don't know what that is. But Clarence has been a member on my side. I believe I saw that come in earlier. Thank you for being a member, Clarence. I wish we understood your super chat better than we do.
Fuji Simeon says, now that Purdy got paid, what? He drops his good guy facade and he reveals his true weird self, i.e. Aaron Rodgers or Gabe Kapler in his coconut oil.
Yeah, just a full heel turn. All of a sudden, he's picking up speeding tickets before and after every practice. Just bad guy now.
Every time he walks into the room, they're playing George Thorogood's Bad to the Bone.
Evil Brock Purdy.
Yeah. People asking questions. Fuck off, maggot. Could you imagine?
One of the reasons why they paid him is because that's just not an option. That's never going to happen. I mean, will Brock Purdy ever get a speeding ticket? Is a legitimate question.
No. Fuji Simeon 13. Though he's going to have to up his gift game this year. He went with Toyotas last year. I mean, what do you do this year now that you're getting all this money?
Well, first of all you guys just got new cars last year. You don't get a new car every year.
It's boat? Would he get a boat?
It's going to be expensive watch time. You watch.
Fuji Simeon, watch Purdy take the Andrew Wiggins route. He works hard just to get a big deal. Then now he will just coast from this point on. Haha, just kidding. Yeah, could you imagine if all of a sudden? I've got personal issues. I'm going to take off for a month. I'll be back. Joseph Ernberg, chance Brandon Ayuk doesn't play at all and is gone next season. I would say 60-40.
Yeah,
I would say 60-40. I think there's a very good chance he doesn't play until like December this year. right?
Yeah,
I mean, why should he? Why would he?
Yeah.
He got hurt in week 7. He blew out the ACL, the MCL, and the meniscus. It's a lot. It's an awful lot. It's a big injury. It's a lot of rehab. Johnny Larson, why don't the Niners attack free agents like other teams do? Is it the taxes? Also, the Damon Bruce from Ike's is amazing. Oh, he's talking about your sandwich.
Thank you for eating me. I appreciate that, Johnny. The thing is, I think the 49ers will attract free agents. This wasn't a year where they were throwing free agent dollars around like they have in other years. So I think it will happen.
The Niners made a huge mistake this offseason. And it wasn't not signing free agents. It was not spending money on undrafted free agents. They should probably never really participate that heavily in the free agent market. Why? Because the free agent market starts with guys that are 32 years old. There's only like 1 or 2 guys that are in their 20s. Almost everybody in free agency is 32. Almost by definition, you're kind of done at that point. So
you don't want to
I would steer way clear of free agency going forward as just my philosophy, and I would spend lots and lots more money on the undrafted market because I think those are young players that have a future and might really be able to help you. I think you've proven that you can handicap that market in the past. Sitting that one out this year largely I thought was ill-advised.
I would bet you the next big free agent dollars that this team commits are to an offensive lineman or a wide receiver.
Maybe. Could be Juwan Jennings, could be Colt McKivitz. Anthony Lick Scorpion says Larry and Damon, 1, 2, 3, outload. Let's do it.
1, 2, 3 out loud. Let's do
out
it.
Loud.
I think he means.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll do what?
That is a quote from Upton Stout. Remember on draft day, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. He said it like 100 times. Kyle Silva, 2 legends listening with my 3-year-old boy. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle.
Kyle, thank you very much. We'll try to swear less now that we know that there's a 3-year-old in the crowd.
Seriously. I don't normally swear. It's Damon has this impact on me. Frisco Shills. Wilkes is currently the DC for the Jets.
Really?
Yeah, he was hired by the Jets. I knew he had a gig. I thought he was in college. MSQ, I know rest is crucial, but remember when the Niners had 20 days worth of rest before the playoffs and almost lost to Green Bay and Detroit? Thoughts?
Oh, word almost there would be the key word, right? Almost.
Yeah. You mean that year they went to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you mean the 2 playoff games that they won
in the second half by outplaying their opponent. Fuji Simeon, Larry, since your bro is a Sac Kings fan, how is he feeling about the team trading away Halliburton and choosing to keep De'Aaron Fox, who's now at the Spurs? My brother's a judge. I don't think he's living and dying with the Kings, but yeah, I mean, believe me, I'm sure he's got an eye roll every time they say, "Well, we're dumping our GM." Isn't Monty McNair out now too? So yeah, I mean, the Kings are a tire fire.
Was it Carmichael Dave? Up in Sac, he was responding to Halliburton hits the shot and somebody's like, why does God hate the Kings? And his answer was like, God doesn't hate the Kings. All these guys are really wealthy and they're all very happy, but God definitely hates Kings fans. And I thought that's probably right.
Well, it's like cyclical. Everybody's going to win eventually. Oh, except for the Kings.
Except them.
MSQ says, what's worse, Halliburton to the Indiana Pacers, or Luka to the Lakers? Oh, it's definitely Luka.
Oh, Luka to the Lakers, without a doubt. Although Tyrese Halliburton, man, I got to tell you this, he might get a ring before Luka does.
I love all the people who are like, the lottery's not fixed. Yeah, stop it. Stop it. It is fixed. Fuji Simeon, imagine the Bears legend William the Refrigerator Perry doing in the Tush-Push. That weight and mass could be tough to stop. Sad to hear he has health issues. Well, not surprising, though. I mean, the guy's been hundreds of pounds overweight for years. As far as, how about this? Desmond Watson weighs over 100 pounds more than the Fridge at full Fridge weight. Fridge played at like 325, and I think he probably weighed 330, 340. This guy weighs 440.
Yeah, he needs a better. Here's the thing: Fridge he needs to be called the walk-in. He's a walk-in freezer. That guy. He's so big.
My gosh. Fuji Simeon says, R.I.P. George Wendt. Norm! On Cheers made me want to go to a bar when I became 21. He made it seem cool.
Norm passed away on the anniversary of the last episode of Cheers. How about that?
I saw that show the very first time it aired, the very first Thursday that it aired, and I knew it was a hit. The set was awesome.
Yeah.
That show was awesome. Sam and Diane and the whole deal. I mean, it was a Thursday night. This is back when NBC really owned Thursday night. And I forget exactly. It was like Cheers. It was Night Court.
Cosby Show.
Cosby Show, Cheers, Night Court. Remember Night Court with Marky Post?
By the way,
she's also now with us.
John Larroquette was also he was so good on Night Court.
Good.
So funny as Dan Fielding. The best, Larry, is when Bobby Knight would come out of the tunnel. The Indiana band would start playing Night Court.
Really?
It was great.
Great show. Silence is realistic shakeout of the wide receiver room. Who stays? Who goes? Well, I'm kind of hoping the 49ers maybe could add another wide receiver, to be honest, because I kind of think that I think they need one. As far as who stays and who goes, I'll give it to you. It's, obviously, Pearsall and Jennings for sure. Ayuk is not going to be on the roster when it starts. So it's Pearsall and Jennings, Cowing, Jordan Watkins, Demarcus Robinson. Those are your 5 receivers. And then who else has a shot? Tariq Owens has a shot if he was wildly improved.
Maybe
Isaiah
Naylor.
Hodgins has a shot. Isaiah Nayer has a shot. Bergen, the return man, clearly has a shot. But I would say they're probably going to keep 6, and the 5 will be Pearsall, Jennings, Robinson, Watkins, Cowing, and then the 6th will be probably Bergen, my guess. But it could be Isaiah Nayer. Could be Hodgins. Could be Tariq Owens. I'd love to see him go after like a Malachi Corley or somebody like that, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But yeah, I definitely think.
I think one of their biggest wide receiver targets this year is going to be Christian McCaffrey.
You think he's going to be the receiver this year?
I think he's going to line up in the slot quite a bit.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
The same for George Kittle.
Last one, Fuji Simeon. Purdy will give hot tubs as gifts via his folks.
Nice.
I like that.
Sure.
I like that.
Hot tub.
That would be a great one, man. That would be a great one. Have his dad, hey, Dad, I'm going to buy, 12 hot tubs from you. I mean, that would be cool. That actually is a great idea.
At that point, you're right. You're hot tubbing the whole roster at Purdy's point, right? I mean, we're talking
the whole roster.
We're getting 53 hot tubs.
Oh my God, they're like $5,000 each.
He's got it.
Yeah, he's got it. There's no doubt he's got it. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to our sponsors, Pig and a Pickle is the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Ike's is the title sponsor of Damon's show. There's links in the description for all of our sponsors. Damon, I'll give you the final word as you're going to be streaming with Sam Batesh.
In about
I'll be doing Niners Nightly tonight at 6. Tune in for a little Niners Nightly. I also have a video coming out this morning on Matt Barrow's article in The Athletic where he sat down with 49er personnel executive.
Larry, I hope your entire family, I hope everyone who's watching, you and your entire family, have a great Memorial Day. Have a nice little break from your work, and hopefully you don't get caught in bad traffic on the highway. There's going to be a lot of people on the road, so be careful out there. Have a great Memorial Day weekend and come back fresh and ready to go. Again, no wake up on Friday, no wake up on Monday because I'm going to be coming home. And Larry, we'll figure out next week as it gets closer. But look, every week brings us closer to football season, man. And I'm really excited about it. I think the Niners are going to be they're going to be wildly interesting this year, man. It's very, very interesting football team. And thanks everyone for watching. Have yourself a good, safe, happy Memorial Day weekend. And for that guy, I'm this guy. And I just want to say thank you. Once you come and you learn underneath me, you'll be able to really return to a job that you had 17 years ago. So congratulations.
You know, I told Jed, hey, look, today, Ethan Waugh. Tomorrow, round 2 for good old Trent Baalke.